Hey, there we go, and we are live. All right, welcome everybody to the return of Warhammer Weekly. It's your weekly Warhammer news, rumor, and general fun hobby time roundup. It's a lot like Sports Center, only about something interesting, and not on 87 times a day. So it's on once a week, hence weekly. All right, I am Vince, your host for tonight, and joining me are two esteemed colleagues. First up, our special guest for tonight, and yes, Tom, he gets top billing over you. Our special guest is Nick of Long Island Wargaming, and of course, the original, host and bringer of Warhammer Weekly, the founder of the Feast, the man who we would not be here without. So, Nick, introduce yourself more.
Hi, I'm Nick, and if you don't know me, I don't feel bad for you. I'm nothing special, but no, hey, this is cool. I'm really glad that someone's picked this up. I've just been too busy myself, and whoopee womp Dylan to just busy. So I'm glad to just see that this is up and running. For those of you who don't know who I am, my channel is Long Island Wargaming. I'm in the middle of doing some Mordheim stuff. We're also Warhammer. Videos, X-Wing, a bunch of different hobbies that I like to throw up. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm happy to kick off the first episode of Season 2.
Absolutely. All right, and joining me also is my good friend Thomas Lyons. Tom, you want to say hi and introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Tom Lyons. Interestingly enough, I'm relatively new to Warhammer. Vince kind of drugged me kicking and screaming into the hobby in this last year or so. I bought my first army around the release of Nagash. End times interested me quite a bit. Actually, interestingly enough, I'm an old school Mordheim player. Played it back in the 90s, and then was smart enough to not get into GW product back then. But unfortunately, I got in just in time for them to squat most of the armies.
So you say. Let's not jump ahead of ourselves there, sir. We're not to the rumor section yet. All right. So, yes, well, I guess we kind of are. That actually does segue rather well. Let's start out with our week in review segment. If this was a real show, I could do, I'd have banners and graphics and neat things happening, but it's not, so there you go. And also, I'm lazy. So even if there is a way to do it, I would never figure it out. So we're going to talk about the week in review, the week that was in Warhammer. And for this first time, we're going to go a little deeper back than 1 week, since it's the first show of Season 2. And as always, when you start a new show, you've got to see the previously on X-Men where Morph died, because that's every episode. And what happened recently? All right, well, let's see. Obviously, Thankful came out, and that was a great book. I'm working my way through the story right now. Nick, I know you're also a big Skaven fan. Have you seen or heard anything about Thankful?
I have not obtained a copy of the book, nor have I read too many rumors on it. I have seen the models, though, and I think most of them are pretty cool. The new Rat Ogre guys look pretty sweet. New Vermin Lord and Thankful are pretty cool, but I haven't actually gotten too into it, so I'm actually hoping that you've got some information for me so that I can learn and comment on.
Absolutely. Tom, you got your Thankful, right?
I do.
You've been working your way through it?
A little bit here and there. I think I'd have to say my favorite part is probably the formations, all things considered. There's a lot of interesting... I'm not a Skaven player, and so, ironically, none of the actual formations that are there are for any of my armies. But that said, I think that from just a design standpoint, I think that GW really... I think that there's some design space here that could be really interesting as GW moves forward to kind of break out of the army building mechanic that they've been stuck in for a number of years now.
What is formations?
Yeah, why don't you tell us all, Tom? What are formations?
Formations are so basically it's a packet that you're purchasing, like a set number of units, a set number of a list that you're basically building from that allows you to break the core requirement, and so it lets you put a number of different units on the table that would not have been able to normally be kind of bundled together, and so it has a lot of room for abuse, but that said, I think that it can keep the game fresh in a way that I mean, it seems like after each army book releases, again, I'm relatively new to this, so for me to be making these claims is pretty bold, but it seems like after each book has been released, armies kind of like go through a process of people feeling out what's powerful and what works, and then suddenly like you start to see these cohesive like set lists that generally like begin to coast then from that point on. And this, if they were regularly introducing formations, even with the same static number of units, it could really create a dynamic that's not currently there in army building.
Okay. And this is for all armies across the board?
No.
This is just for Skaven?
I think they have one Empire and one Dwarf one in there. Is that right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Yeah. So clearly they're trotting out the idea that this could be used across the board, and I've got to agree because yeah, it says like you've got to have this unit and this unit and this unit and so on and so forth, and it gives you a lot of options, but it doesn't like actually. It doesn't force you to take a certain size of a unit. It just says like you have 2 units of Slayers and you have Bugmen and you have this kind of stuff. So it does give you some neat options, and it does let you build your army in an unusual way. You like ignore the core tax as long as you take all of these things, and then you can build them to spec. And generally, it'll be about 80% of your army if you built the units out in sort of average size.
Okay, so this isn't the first time they've done this before, correct?
They have certainly 40K players would be very familiar with this because this is basically a 40K idea, and they have been at this apple before. Although I honestly don't know if they ever used this exact name for it, but they have certainly done this sort of thing before. Yes.
Did Sigmar's Blood do something like this?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
I thought it was Sigmar's Blood. I don't think it's Triumphant Treachery. I think it was Sigmar's Blood trotted this out to a very limited degree previously.
Did either of you play during 5th and 6th edition?
Yes, some. Like I played during 5th. I was mostly out during 6th and came back in 7th.
All right, because I know my 6th edition books, in the back they'd have separate entries to meet either a theme or a certain battle, and this is that concept, correct?
Yeah, it's another evolution of that concept. You're absolutely right. So if you remember the old, like the back of, I think, what was it, the 6th edition Skaven book, had like the Clan Pestilence army list and like the Clan Molder army list and so on and so forth, right? And it lets you sort of play with what was special and what was rare and that kind of thing. It's a similar concept in that it's playing around with your total army situation and the way you construct it, even though it's not trotted out in exactly the same way. It's much more rigid than those were, but it's a similar idea.
Okay. Yeah, I just remembered actually using those templates because there was one for the dwarves because my buddy that played growing up was the High Elves, and there was a separate list in each book for the War of the Beard, where it had the certain lists you're supposed to bring, no black powder weapons. You know, right. it made it so it fit the time and genre of that battle during that era. So, you know, it was a cool concept. Obviously, it didn't pan out into 7th and 8th edition, but to see it come back a little bit is pretty interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a great idea, and I want to see more of it because it's a way to do small releases that also, you know, a lot of people complain when GW wants them to buy things. And this is a way to sort of do that, make other units interesting, have you play your armies in a new way, tell a story. It's great for fluff players. You know, it's not a tournament thing, but it's still a fun take on the game for a relatively low investment, right? Yeah, so that's in there. What else is happening in Thankful? Obviously, we've got, the new rules for your Storm Fiends, your big weapon team Rat Ogres. You've got Thankful and Bone Ripper himself. You got the Vermin Lords, all of which are passable. I don't want to get too deep into mechanics, but they're fun. If you're a Skaven player, you'll like them. I don't think any of them really meet. The Storm Fiends are probably the only thing that could truly be tournament-worthy, as it were, or like that, because they could be good, they could be bad. I don't know. It remains to be seen, but I think Vermin Lords, there's no way. As Skaven and AZ said, they don't live up to it. They're fun on a friendly game, but they're a 500-point throwaway sink in a serious game. But most importantly, the story in there is great. You get to see the Skavens sort of, all right, spoiler, I am about to spoil some things out of Thankful. You have been warned if you keep listening. I know, right? Shocking. If you So the Skaven, I mean, in short order, this isn't exactly correct, but basically the Skaven blow up the moon. That's what happens.
One of them?
Yeah, so like Morsalib or Mosleb, I don't know how to pronounce
the
it.
Dark Moon.
Yeah, the Dark Moon.
Boom.
They've always said it's made of warpstone. And so the Grey Seers pull it much closer to the world, and then the big giant doom rocket blows up the moon.
Clan Skyr gets busy, shoots a rocket at it, and blows it up.
That's so ridiculous.
I submit to you, the Skaven book immediately became the greatest book of end times, because I don't give a crap about resurrecting Nagash. Way to go. You killed some humans, you grabbed some armor, you resurrected a dude. Big freaking deal. My people, we blew up the moon. The moon. That is some James Bond supervillain stuff right there. Nagash, what'd you do? You raised some skeletons. You're a scary guy. Blew up the moon. That's all I'm saying.
Man, that's intense.
It is, yeah.
Wonder what the currents are like now.
Well, there's a lot of moons, so it's probably never nighttime. There's so many moons. But so that's good. That'll happen. I highly recommend Thankful. Thankful, but it's no Glotkin. It's definitely quality. It's good stories. If you like Lizardmen, if you like dwarves, there is a lot of good fluff material in there, even though there's no crunch. But there's a lot of good story in there about those races. So that's what happened. Let's turn to some rumors here in our next couple minutes. So I don't want to spend too much time on 9th edition rumors, because those are too amorphous and far off and a very touchy, unhappy subject. Instead, let's turn to Archaon and the next book in the End Times, which is very much rumored to be End Times Archaon. And apparently we have, the Ever-Chosen finally making his move after, I don't know, it feels like forever. And the rumors currently circulating are that there will be a new Bloodthirster kit, big giant Bloodthirster, that Khorne units will get 2 new things, like the Wrath. Do you remember what they were called, Tom? Wrath Mongers and Skull Takers. It's all got blood or wrath or anger stuff in it.
Blood, gore, man.
Yeah.
People.
Yeah, Khorne. Ooh.
Right, yeah.
Different.
Some more stuff that is angry. Look at the quality journalism we're bringing to you. I can't even remember the names of the things. That is the level. I'm setting the bar really low in the first episode. I don't want to set any high expectations. So that's coming. And obviously the other big spoiler out of Thankful was, yes, the Skaven do ally themselves with Archaon.
Are you ready for this? It's the Skull Reapers and the Wrathmongers.
All right, I was right on one of them.
The Skull Reapers are chosen of Khorne with 2-handed swords and other weapons, and the Wrathmongers are supposed to be the bringers of the Bloodstorm with chains like flails.
Chains like flails?
Isn't a flail already a chain-based weapon? I'm not sure how.
Yep.
It seems redundant. I have a short sword like a sword. Sword like.
You have a sword like Gladius?
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Thank you. Much better joke on my terrible joke.
Short sword, long dagger?
Right, yeah, there you go. So Archaon is rumored to come out in March. Should contain some very interesting stuff, and probably will be the final End Times book, as the rumors are currently saying, and lead us sort of into 9th and blow up the world.
What is your thoughts, though, that we're getting a second Chaos book?
I think it was always bound to happen, right? I mean, they're the impetus in this story, as they always have been. Like, Chaos really, it's an agent of change, but I mean, like, it is the agent of change in the world, right? Everything is always reacting to chaos. The undead are just, like, sort of around, and they're there, and they happen every so often. But chaos is the motivator of stories in the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plus, we all know that Games Workshop does have a bit of, shall we say, turgid situation for chaos in general and how they treat them, I would suppose, is a fair way to put it.
Chaos is favored.
Yeah, there you go. That's a much more professional way to put it.
They're chosen.
Right, yeah, look at their names. Chosen, ever chosen, we choose them, I choose you, Pikachu. It's fine, we get it. But there's a lot of rumors of that it's going to basically sort of end the story, reveal who the incarnates are, things like that. Now, Tom, you and I were talking earlier, and you have a wonderful tinfoil hat theory. So I'd like to turn it over to Tom now for Tom's tinfoil hat theories. So you want to trot out your craziness so we can discuss?
Sure. So I'm not going to defend this. I'm just going to throw it out there. And then what I'll do is I'll begin to trot out the evidence of what I'm suggesting we may see, just a crazy ridiculousness that is GW. I think that the true identity of Archeon is actually Sigmar.
What?
So, yeah.
What?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that GW...
That would be too well thought out for them.
No, it doesn't have to be thought out because they've retconned so much up until this point in 8th edition.
No, what I'm saying is I don't think they're capable of coming up with an idea that's so awesome.
Well, so hear me out on this. So Archeon, if you go and just do some reading on his background, not like the Black Library novel stuff that's been released, but just on kind of the general game stuff. Because, again, they're more than willing to retcon any of the old novels and stuff like that. They've done it over and over and over again. He has a somewhat, we know that he showed up in somewhat recent history the last couple hundred years. He's untouched by the ravages of time. He suggests, what we do know is he's an ex-Sigmarite who discovered the truth of the gods and walked away. We know that... regarding Sigmar, there's a bunch of legends about him from 2,500 years ago, but he was just a dude. He was a warlord, and all the knowledge that we have regarding the historical Sigmar are very unreliable narrators. And so, it just makes me wonder, is this what... So Volton, so one of the retcons that recently happened was that Volton was declared from being Sigmar resurrected, Sigmar incarnate, to being the Herald of Sigmar, I think is his new title. So he's the forerunner. He's the one that comes before Sigmar. And so one of the threads of end times that we've seen over and over again is that the gods are real. They're real dudes. They're real people in the world. We've seen that, and they've driven that home in almost every single book to this part. We saw that, we saw Nagash consuming people, including the dwarven deity Valya. We see in the most recent Thonquil book, spoiler, here we go. Teclis shows up and steals Ulrich's flame. Underneath the flame of Ulrich, Ulrich lives there. And Teclis shows up and steals it and basically kills the god. And he's like, we need real heroes, not you. And runs off. Right, so, we know the gods are real. And so the big question mark, I think, for anybody that's reading this narratively, is where is Sigmar? He is the god of the Empire. The Empire is being crushed. His herald has been decimated. If the herald is there, that means that Sigmar is coming. We know from the story that the winds of heaven have been imbued in all the signs are pointing that wasn't Sigmar that did that. That was actually Teclis, or that was the Teclis' unbinding. Something directed the power to Franz. But the question is that we don't know that was Sigmar. Ulrich was around before then, and he could have been the one controlling. He was the one granting power to. If you read any of Sigmar's background, it seems like Ulrich is. The deity that's kind of the front and center that blesses Sigmar, and so for his recipients to be getting guidance and stuff like that, that doesn't mean that it wasn't coming from Ulrich, who we know exists. It just makes me wonder, is that the big FU? Maybe it's Tzeentch's game of that's the big have Archeon step up on the doorstep, the ultimate warlord, the one that founded the Empire, and having him have been corrupted or whatever in the history. And there's a bunch of other like small links to this that I don't want to go again. I could tinfoil hat this for a while, but so Archeon, the armor that he wears,
the Archeon and Sigmar show. So yeah,
like the armor that Archeon wears is actually the armor of the first ever chosen that was killed by Sigmar. Now the story's been left. Volton was killed. The Herald of Sigmar again. He was the forerunner, the one that comes before Sigmar. And surely Sigmar is coming. He's just not coming to bring salvation. He's coming to bring destruction. And so now at the very end we have in Thanquol, he's there. Archeon's like staring at Volton's skull, like meditating on it, and like Galmaraz is sitting there on the throne, which was his hammer, which was Sigmar's hammer. Again, it's set up to be this huge reveal if that is the direction that they're going, because Sigmar has to show up in some sense. The question is it Archeon, and if it is, it's going to be messed up.
If that is the point, if that is the case, this would be the first time ever I actually care about the story, because that's like very, very well thought out, and it makes me curious.
I think two things. One, Tom, if you get this right, you'll absolutely go down as a great prognosticator. If you get it wrong, who cares? Nobody's going to remember. So it's free to swing for the fences. But two, I agree with you completely. This would be wonderful. I would love it. I mean, Sigmar was always this Conan-esque figure, and the reality is I'm not sure Conan is ever a really good guy. He would probably knock over your kingdom and kill you as easily as he'll save you. And I think it would just be wonderful and a great way to sort of end the world with having the greatest hero of mankind to become its greatest villain. What a wonderful story about all of humanity, and I would love it. So I say, do it, G-Dub. Pull that trigger.
Well, it's very GW. I mean, let's be honest. It further cements their turgid favor of chaos.
Chaos. Yeah, sure. All right.
Yeah.
So that's good. I don't
there you go. There's Tom's tinfoil hat segment.
Yes. There you go. So those are some of the rumors and non-rumors and crazy tinfoil hat theories for this week.
I don't know if some people I'm not gonna go too far into this, but I do want to mention some people may not have caught this, but GW in their newsletter also announced recently that they're releasing a new Warhammer app. And why I think that this is interesting is because it didn't, the font and everything associated with the new app doesn't look like either of the fonts for Warhammer Fantasy or Warhammer 40K. And a while back there was going to be potentially some rebranding with their stores. And so it just looks like a lot of points or a lot of parts are moving behind the scenes with GW. And I think that what we're seeing in End Times is probably just another symptom of the reorganization stuff that's happening. They just renamed the YouTube channel from the Games Workshop YouTube channel to Warhammer TV. Right. And so it seems like they're consolidating around this concept of Warhammer as this monolithic thing. And I don't want to fuel any rumors into ninth, but it seems like more is going on behind the scenes that GW is doing than just simply the end time stuff.
That scares me.
Yeah.
I think it's smart at the same time because it doesn't have to mean worlds are coming together or anything like that. It can just be them mobilizing their brand into the well-known thing, right? They are known for Warhammer, so why not actually tread on that brand? I'm not sure that portends anything. I think it's probably a smart business move regardless of what they do.
Agreed. I just wanted to get it out there because I know that a lot of people probably didn't again, it's a small piece of data that has cropped up in the last week, and a lot of people probably didn't notice it, but I think it's probably valuable for those that are kind of wanting to follow rumors to acknowledge that this is another moving part that seems to be changing.
Sure.
So.
All right. So rumor section done. Segue on. Next issue, issue 4. All right. The kids really love those McLaughlin group references, by the way. Those really Those land hot. Let me tell you that. So next up, let's move on to some hobby time. So let's start with what's on everybody's workbench. What are you working on? Are you painting, hobbying on? Nick, take us away. You're our special guest. Begin.
This might become as a surprise to a lot of people, but actually everybody, hopefully everyone's surprised, because if you're not surprised, that's weird, but I actually am working on Tomb King's models.
What?
I actually took my Tomb King army out of the box, and I'm actually going to start painting and assembling them. And that's, not something I planned on doing, but it's what's happening. So that and some more time stuff here and there.
Very nice. Yeah, I saw that treasure chest you did, like the mimic treasure chest. Was that from Reaper?
Yes. I
love that. You painted it up really nice. You've done some really great Mordheim terrain and pieces. I thought they were absolutely fantastic.
Thank you.
I am, and obviously, if this right here behind me isn't proof enough, I fully support you working on Tomb Kings, just in case this area.
The whole broadcast, I'm like staring at the models. I'm like, they look painted. I want to paint my guys, and I don't know what colors to do, and I've got like questions. So like, yes, I'm intrigued. I'm staring at that entire army this whole time.
Well,
we can talk in depth.
You have what, 10,000 points of Tomb Kings, Vince?
Yeah, about 10,000 points. Yeah.
That's good.
Like if you count magic items, it's probably like 8,000 hard pointed with no upgrades, right?
I think I have about 4 or 5,000.
Which is more than enough. I mean, you're good. Here's the important question: do you have a kitty?
A kitty?
Yeah. Do you have your War Sphinx, your kitty?
Oh, I have 2 War Sphinxes and then 2. I don't even know what they're called. I have 2 of each.
Sphinxes.
Yes,
The
I got
Necro
2.
Sphinx, the big ones,
Yeah.
or the
I have
winged
2
ones.
of each of those.
Oh, you're set then.
I was actually going to work on the War Sphinx tonight. So.
Nice. He is an awesome model to paint. I love the War Sphinx. I love it in the game. It's amazing. But beyond that, as Lord Tremendous has told us, kitty, it is capable of amazing things. So no, that's awesome. Well, very good. Are you going to incorporate any vampire counts pieces in there at all? Are you going to build into an undead legion, even if just a little toe dip in the water?
I might, but I would have to actually get the book to look at it, and a lot of you might already know I have nothing to do with the end times. So like I don't have any books. I rarely listen to any podcasts on them, so I don't know too much about it. But I think I want to just do the army by itself for now, and then maybe pick up some vampire count stuff along the way. So. For me, it's more of a painting project. I just like the way the models are. I'm like intrigued to learn something new because I'm doing things I'm very familiar with. Where like the War Sphinx, I have to paint like that obsidian black and blue look, and I'm very interested in trying something different.
Yeah, it's such a fun model to paint. And just if you look, one of the things I love about that War Sphinx is sometimes when you Google a model and like Google image search it, which by the way for people painting and modeling out there, if the first step of you painting a new model isn't to Google image search that model, I would say you're doing it wrong. I just mean like use that resource. There's so many people who've done such good work, and just take a look. And sometimes you Google image search a model and you see a bunch of the same thing. Like a lot of them are painted almost the same way, maybe like the cover of the box or whatever. You Google image search that War Sphinx, and man, they are in every color of the rainbow. They have lightning schemes and marble schemes. It's just, you can put your own fingerprint on it so easily, right?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome, man. I am super glad to hear that. I know you've I've been watching your Mordheim terrain, and I know sometimes you've been having some struggles recently with some energy for Warhammer, but I'm glad to hear that, man. That's cool.
Well,
Tomb Kings, it gets you going.
Yeah, here's the project. I've been doing a lot of small games, so I'm going to paint up about 1,250, maybe 1,500 points worth of Tomb Kings, and kind of use that in my smaller battles.
I think that's fantastic. By the way, just let me say this. I don't know how the feedback was overall to the smaller like battle reports you were doing for a little while. But from my perspective, I loved them. I would love to see more of that. That's just me talking. I'm an audience of one, but I would watch every one. I love seeing the game at those smaller points when you were doing like 1,000, 1,250. I thought they were really cool because they were fast. It was neat to watch the units interact at that level. So
it's a lot of
one supporter.
Thank you. There was a lot of positive feedback. They don't yield as many hits, so it's less encouraging to work on that video. Where if I put out a 2,500 point like tournament game, it's a 500, 1,000 hits. Where these smaller ones, it's usually about 300, 400 hits, views, I should say. But I mean, it makes the game very different because you can bring those suboptimal units and excel and do well with them. That's why I'm curious to see how the Tomb Kings can do, because at that small scale, I see them being very efficient in what they can do. Where at 2,500 points, 3,000, I don't know how I would win a game with them.
Chariots and caskets. That's the answer. Or chariots and a casket. That's the answer at any points level.
Okay.
So it's chariots and a casket. It's like the chocolate and peanut butter of the Warhammer world. You just
the chariot buses. Ugh.
Yeah. All right. So Tom, what about you? What's on your workbench right now?
Well, my high elves are on your workbench. So.
Oh, you're painting up the Phoenix for him?
Yes, he is the recipient of those Phoenixes.
The Phoenix. Yeah, I'm taking a break from my high elves. I have a metric truckload of high elves, and I just need a break. So I haven't even paid that many, and I need a break. So I've been really intrigued by forest goblins, actually, and so I decided to put a forest goblin warband together, and I've been piecing together. Like I wanted things to actually look right, like so I'm doing a lot of converting. I'm doing a lot of like individual building, and so I'm hand building all of my war machines, and so I literally bought like 10 pounds of Ragnarok like Howdah parts, and have pieced together like flingas or the Doom Divers, flingas, chukkas, stuff like that. So let me see if I have any of those.
Well, the nice part about painting goblins is you can just buy some Army Painter Goblin Green spray primer, and you're basically 60% of the way home on finishing that model.
That's my flinga, my Doom Diver, or my Doom Diver. He's not in there, but
it's cool.
Yep. Got a chukka. There you go.
Very nice.
Yep. So just kind of tinkering or trying to get those together because I'm afraid, like, so much of, probably like many people, I'm afraid that with the instability in the market, like, for projects like this, because we don't know what G-Dubs is going to do, I'm afraid that some kits are going to disappear that I'm using bits out of, and so I'm trying to finish all these kind of side projects, so to make sure at least I have all the bits that I'm going to need to put these kind of random things together, so that I have enough in the event that they pull those kits. So.
And worst comes to worst, you wait about 5 years and get yourself a 3D scanner and printer, and you'll be good to go.
There you go.
There you go. Me, myself, people have probably seen, yes, I painted the 2 Phoenixes. I have one more on my bench for you, Tom. I just have to finish some basing work on my little girls here. There's my, courtesy of the Gonk. I wanted to thank him very much for working out a deal with me for these wonderful Juan Diaz Sculpt Demonettes. So I just finished up a unit of them. Just need to finish up their base. And after that, I had your third cursed bird. Then obviously I have my big rat ogre guys. Yeah, those guys. Those need to be done. And then lastly will be I'm doing the all-female Khorne army, and so I wanted to get my skull cannon together, and I can't use bloodletters on the back, so I had to get something new for the back. And what better to ride on the back of a big phallic cannon than some naughty nurses who are here to give an injection where necessary. So they'll be on the back of the skull cannon. That's what's on my bench.
Nice.
There you go. All right. Good stuff. I will be very interested in how that Tomb Kings project goes, Nick. So, and if you want to hit me up anytime, I am happy to share any of my experiences with it, or whatever.
Yeah, I might ask for some pictures, and then tonight I'll put up a video of the few things I've painted so far.
Fantastic. Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure I could deluge your inbox with photos of those Tomb Kings. That sounded dirty. All right, so let's get to our segment for the night. All right, tonight's main segment is the best of the best. In the best of the best, we argue about what is the best of the best in the various categories. It could be mechanics or fluff or anything from the Warhammer world. Tonight's best of the best categories are special characters and chariots. The way this works is we're each going to pick one thing. So pick your thing. We'll start with special characters. Pick your best of the best special character and why you think he's the best. And the audience will decide who wins. All right. So again, Nick, as the guest, please start us off. Your best of the best for special characters.
Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of special characters, so the ones that are too out of control, I don't play or use. My favorite that I've used and I think is pretty good, and I think he's probably the best in terms of what he does in the game, but also how he doesn't break the game if you're playing with friends and special characters. I like Festus the Leech Lord. He's fairly cheap. He doesn't break the game like, say, Throg does, where now you can bring all these trolls and it makes it a different game. Festus, he gives the unit regeneration. He has a couple different quirks here and there, and he's not the most powerful, but he's the best fit for the game that I think before the game gets stupid.
All right, I like it. Tom, your choice for special character?
Well, I am less concerned about breaking the game. To be honest,
You're a cheating min-maxer scum. We get it. Continue. It's all right. You don't have to defend yourself.
I am. I fully embrace that. And so something being optimal is something that's significant to me. And I like to look for things that break the rules because they make things interesting. And so for me, like my best of the best is Alariel. It's not like, again, I'm primarily a high elf player, and let me just say, no matter what format I'm in, whether I'm playing primary, like main book, base 8th rules, or whether I'm running an end time army, like in either of the Alariel incarnations from Kane, which, by the way, if you haven't seen them, Nick, they are fantastic. The base is a 350 in the main elf book, and then there's like a 450 and a 550 maybe, and just like they just continue to ramp up her powers, and so if that was even possible, it is, and mechanically she's compelling. All the incarnations are compelling for different reasons. The most powerful from End Times, like the ability to just grant regeneration to all of your units within 12 of her, is bonkers. Thinking of her in like an Eternity King army, like the combined Elven host forces, running like a monster army with like some Hydras and some Phoenixes, or Phoenixes generally don't need the regen, but some Hydras, and then maybe stick her in a big block of Corsairs who are already running 4+ armor that are also now running regen. Like it's bonkers. And then on top of that, GW doesn't always do strong female characters well, and so it's funny to actually see that within one of the armies, and that's a definite plus for me as well.
All right, very good. My pick now, like sitting on the shelf where you can't quite see, but down here, this is like all of this is Skaven special characters. And you would think, loving Skaven how I do, that I would pick one of them. Or perhaps even like, somebody from the Tomb King's army, as there are a few compelling special characters in there. But that is not what I will pick. In fact, my pick is the Mask. The dancer, she, out of...
Demons?
Out of the demons, yes. The Slaneshi hero. What I love about the Mask is two things. I love the Mask in every way. First of all, I would love it if there was a named Keeper of Secrets, but I don't get a Scarbrand or a Kairos Fate Weaver, so that's fine, whatever. I'll settle for the Mask. One, it was a pretty decent movie with Jim Carrey. Wait, sorry, different thing. Okay, so, but the thing about the Mask is, one, it's a great story. Basically, this person danced for Slaanesh, and Slaanesh wasn't impressed, and so cursed them to always be dancing for all time. And so this person is just as this cursed demon has been dancing for thousands and thousands of years. It cannot stop. It is the unending lord of the dance. What a hilarious punishment. Only Slaanesh. And in the game, even though it's this standalone weird special character, she is not, I don't know, she, he, I don't know, whatever, it is not that expensive. But it can do a lot of really big things, like the way you can do your little polka dance, or you can do the robot, you know, a domo origato, suffer neg 1 strength. It's a pretty potent effect on a combat, and like if she's dancing around, she can really swing things in your favor in a way that doesn't rely on spells that can be dispelled or other sorts of things like that. And given that she can be near units for a lookout, sir, or she has a 3-up ward save all the time, she's actually rather resilient. And if she dies, whatever, I mean, by demon standards, she's not that expensive. So, yeah, there you go. That's my pick. So we leave it to you, viewers. Decide what you like. Who is the special character? And if you don't like any of ours, well, you're wrong. No, if you don't like any of ours, then tell us what special character you like. Post it up below. All right, round 2. Best of the best. Chariots. That unit of impact hits. There are few more varied and crazy units in the game than what gets called a chariot. Everything from unicycle dark elf things to massive engines of steam and steel are all in the game technically considered chariots. So, once again, Nick, start us off. Chariot.
I'm going to go with the core Warriors of Chaos Chariots. They have an awesome stat line. They fill up your core. So, I mean, if you want to do something silly and you want to bring, you know, 3 or 4 chariots, you can do that for core. You don't have to have infantry. They're great cost-wise, maybe. I'd have to run the numbers in terms of actual money, where if you want to fill out your core and you spend, you know, $100 on 3 or 4 chariots, it might be better than anything else you want to do. But no, their stats are great. Great armor. You have 2 horses, and you have 2 charioteers, which have 4 attacks each, weapon skill 5, strength 5. You have like a 3-up armor. I think it's 4 wounds. And then to take it one step further, you can mark them to either fit a theme with your army or just to make them that much more effective. Vince, is the camera fixed on me or no? Or on Thomas?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
I think it's on you right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my computer's freaking out. Sorry. So they're fairly inexpensive point-wise. I think they're about 110 points plus whatever mark you give them. And, you know, Nurgle's great, -1 to hit. Khorne if you want the extra attack. Slaanesh, I don't think is worth it. And then Tzeentch if you want the ward save on the chariot, that's cool. They're also a great chariot in terms of conversions. You could take a lot of liberties if you don't like the actual chariot. You want to take something from the demon army. If you want to go ahead and take, you know, some of the screamers or whatever they're called and make them a chariot. There's just a lot you could do if you want to have fun with it and make a themed army. So in the game and off the table, I think they're the best chariot.
Very nice. Tom, your pick for best chariot.
I'm not a big chariot guy. Like, and even though high elves are my main, one would think that I might look to high elves, but if I'm going to field a chariot, it's going to be a snotling pump wagon. I mean,
deadliest of all chariots.
I mean, really, like, let's be honest. Big hits, random movement, silliness, aggressively costed. It's and like on top of all that, like, and it's the perfect thing to kit bash, like build, because do you have wheels? Do you have some minis that you can put on the wheels? Maybe throw, you know, like it. Do you have a pile of trash? Awesome. Make a chariot.
That's my pump wagon.
So I mean, like it's a win like all across the board. You know, out of all of the things that I'm building right now for the Forest Goblins, I think the pump wagon is going to be the most enjoyable because like I'm really not constrained with however I want to build it.
Right.
And so yeah, I think that if I'm going to field a chariot, it's going to be a pump wagon.
All right, very nice. In this fight, I will be loyal. as there can be only one chariot of any value in this game, and it is the one, the only, the Skaven Doom Wheel, most fearsome of all chariots. Fires off giant lightning bolts. It, runs over people, does crazy impact hits, grinds in every single turn, shoots in combat. I mean, how could you go wrong with this thing? Look at this thing. It is a giant steam and lightning-powered wheel of psychotic death being driven by a rat man over the enemies of all who would oppose the Verminous Horde. I submit to you that this is the greatest invention, not only within the Warhammer world, but possibly in the history of mankind. This is maybe a step below penicillin, realistically. I mean, it's like, that's probably true. I don't think there's any hyperbole there.
I would probably liken it closer to bubonic plague than penicillin.
Well, we didn't create that.
Can I challenge your choice?
Sure.
Is it a chariot?
Well, I mean, technically it has the rules for it, right? Basically.
Kind of, sort of. It's unique.
Yeah.
Is it a war machine? Like, is the type war machine?
No, it's unique.
It's unique. It is technically type unique, yes. But it
no,
like
that doesn't count then. No, nope.
I'm dealing with a 7th edition book here, people. All right, like yes, even retcon, you're right. It is type unique. But come on, that's a chariot.
Okay, well, given that Skaven are just cheat already,
yeah,
I think that Anthony will probably support me there. Given that Skaven cheat, I guess that it's only appropriate that you can you count that as a chariot.
Yeah, it looks like if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck and shoots you with warp lightning like a duck, it's a chariot. So just like we cheat with everything else, Skaven cheat and get their chariot onto the list. That's what I'm saying. All right. Well, very good. Once again, viewers, it's up to you. What chariots do you love in the game? What do you love to smash into your enemies with and cause grievous amounts of impact hits and hopefully break a unit or not, and then have them get beat to timbers? List yours down below. All right. So that was the best of the best. Next up, so our last segment tonight is going to be a little model review. And this will be fun because we get to try to watch if I can crash my computer by doing screen sharing. So this should be really exciting for everybody. For the future, feel free to send pictures. The email was in the original post for this, but it is vincentrventurella@gmail.com. If you go to any of the links for this show, you'll see it, and I'll put it in the description below too. Always feel free to send us pictures. Also, or in addition to, you should join the PMP. Hey, are you a Warhammer YouTuber? Do you like painting and hobbying? Join the PMP. Painters Motivating Painters. Whoopi started it, and he has formed a great community. It's a wonderful thing for if you like to paint stuff, you make a little pledge, show what you work on, you get great feedback. It's a very positive community. There's a lot of great tips, tricks, advice, and support to help you get motivation to paint. And I pull a lot of pictures from there. And also you can just send them directly to me, and we'll show them on the show. So, with that said, let me do this thing to focus the camera on me. And then let's do some screen share. All right, tell me if you can see that. Is everybody still there?
Yes, I can, in all of its pixelated glory.
Okay. Can everybody see my the figure, the picture? Everybody looking at slutty Snow White?
Well, Nick's not here, so you probably can't see it.
Yes, no, maybe so. Yeah,
yes,
you can see it.
I can, okay. Yes.
All right, good. All right. So yes, this was. I don't want to tarry too long on my own models, but I did just have to share this. This was me. This was my Snow White model converted over to be my demon princess. So yes, my newest demon princess from my female Khorne army there. Snow White with some griffin wings from Reaper and then some blood. So there we go. We'll
Are those the metal griffin wings or are those the bones ones?
They're bones. Yeah. Little peeking out underwear there. The wife thought that was real funny, by the way.
I'm sure she did.
Tom, this is actually your fig, though I painted it. And no, this isn't all just me. It happens to be order. Little fire phoenix. I won't tarry long on my own work, as I'm not trying to show off. But yes, there we go. Little fire phoenix. All right, so here we've got John Craig and his undead. Can everybody see John Craig's tomb guard there?
Yes.
Very good. So speaking of Tomb Kings, here we go. John Craig submitted some Tomb Kings to me. He's made some interesting choices here. The cobblestone bases. I like those bases. Those are very unique. I also like the purple and green. Very unique color scheme. It's always interesting. Tomb Kings are very much about contrasting colors. Got a couple from
shields.
I think he is, because he said he's making an Undead Legions army, so I think he actually mixed it up and is making like Tomb Guard with Undead with Vampire Count shields.
Yeah, they're alternate. That's a really nice purple.
Yeah, Tomb Graveguard, exactly. There you go. Some more of that. Got some skulls on fire.
Is that
those guys are really on fire. Some hex race there, I suspect, of course. We got some Vargeists. I like his use here of the fences and such. Tom, you own a set of the graveyard, right?
Nick?
Say again?
The graveyard of more.
What about it?
Do either of you own this set?
No, I don't own it now.
Oh, I do. I have like two of those sets. I have like I have one full set, and then I bought a bunch of extra fence off of eBay, and I spent like a month and a half painting it. You know that, Vince.
Yes. I think it really is a great set for doing this kind of stuff. I mean, like, look, you can see some of the walls back here on the snake base and such, right? The fences up here. It really is just a fantastic investment if you like doing scenic bases and stuff like that. Because it takes these Vargeists and just stands them up, and it looks cool. It looks like they're coming over the fence edge. I especially like this one coming over the broken fence.
Yeah,
the middle
it
in
looks
there.
Good. Yeah, they're fantastic for Mordheim, by the way.
Yeah, it's one kit I just never picked up. I need to get it. It's like you said, it's great for basing, but it's great for Mordheim and terrain. One thing I want to comment on this picture is, whatever beer that is, it definitely matches the color scheme of the army.
It's a good catch. Yes, indeed. Maybe that was his inspiration. John, you'll have to tell us.
Is that beer or wine? It looks like the bottle next to it is wine.
The right one looks like wine. The one to the left looks like a beer of some sort. Maybe it is a wine. I don't know. I want it, though. It's just a very cool bottle. I want it.
All right, John. We expect you to ship it all to us for the show next time. So there you go. A little close up on the snakes. Oh, there you go. You get a better picture of the wine or beer there too. The alcoholic refreshment.
Yeah, that purple just looks great on those snakes.
It really does. Here up we have Ken Baldock. He submitted this to the PMP, working on these dragon ogres. Love these guys. Don't see enough of them. You know, I mean, you'd think they get played more with that sweet immunity to lightning. That's a joke. But coming along very nicely. He said that this was a sort of progress pick. He wasn't quite done yet, but I think they're looking very good.
The green and teal is an interesting choice. I really like how I like the teal. Like, it reminds me obviously of Tomb Kings. And I don't see it paired with green that often, and so it's definitely eye-catching.
Yeah, I think it's a nice contrast. This is Matiram. He has his Empire General on Griffin here. Real nice. Beautiful model. I love the Griffin here. Got a couple, I think, of him. And what I love about these big feathered creatures is, you know, Matiram always goes on and on about how he's not a very good painter or whatever. But what I love about these big feathered models is that, like, with things like dry brushing, you can really make these models look great. And I think this Griffin looks great, right? And it really is a wonderful model and a wonderful kit to work with. So there we go, some more of that. Here we have Matiram's Hell Cannon conversion, little Tyrannid and some bloodletters. I don't know what Tyrannid that is because I don't play 40K.
Can you go back to the Griffin real quick?
Sure.
I don't think that people like this. This jumped out at me that like obviously big cats are the back half of the griffins, and like I really appreciate the Black Panther look. Like that's not something that gets trotted out a whole lot on griffins.
No, that's funny you say that because I think that's what he was going for. So there you go. Good catch.
Yeah, like and so like it's like I really appreciate that. So good job, Materin.
There you go. Yes, so his Hell Cannon, got a couple shots of that here. I think this is a wonderful conversion. It's absolutely hilarious. And this thing, to my mind, absolutely could have wandered out of the warp. I mean, the Hell Cannon, who knows what it looks like.
Tyranids.
Hey, what's in the warp doesn't stay in the warp. It's the anti-Vegas. That's the problem with it. Couple more. Here we've got Mr. Lee Mech Shop and his Borgio the Besieger. This is an old Dogs of War model from back in 5th edition, I think. I love the bronze work or the gold he did on this. I think it's so rich, especially around here. It's very smooth. Really nice model.
Good.
Ah, yes. So here we have Paul Cunert. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name, Paul. With my single favorite lizard man I have ever seen in my entire life. I would worship at the altar of this lizard man. He is amazing. Most notably, I think about this, Paul, your color scheme is fantastic. I love the white and black monochromatic skink. But what's even more impressive is this gold is non-metallic metal. That is not. There is no gold paint to make that ridge or the staff. That is all browns and yellows. And just amazing technique.
I'm working on forest goblins, obviously, so I'm getting my nice share of feathers, and so I really appreciate his blending on those feathers. You really can't see it on that picture, but I saw this when it went up on the PMP, and his work on those feathers is just phenomenal.
It really is. Here we have some of Remington Steele. Just kind of scoot through these real quick because he's got several of them. With his Dark Elf Chariot.
Is that on the water? Is that what the base is?
Yeah, I think he's modeled a water base for it. Yep. Very nice work.
Is it floating? I don't see wheels.
I think he probably has it. Well, it might be it's the unicycle chariot. So either we can't see the wheel or he put it up on a stick.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. The Scourge Runner Chariot has a single wheel underneath. It's pretty ridiculous looking. I just put two of them together.
Yes. His Dark Elf boss here. And Remington Steele's halflings. His fat little... Look at the second neck on that guy, the second chin. That is a second chin that could stop a dagger. Fantastic. Clan Eshin assassins would have a very difficult time cutting off that halfling's head. We'd get it done, but it would be difficult. Some more from Remy with his Wood Elves. Very nice work there, Mr. Steele. All right. And I think that is all we have. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, one more. Last one. Ross Figure Painting, UK. He got an order to do a cowboy, as we all know, the Saurus on a cold one. And so he converted sort of, from scratch a cowboy, and I love it. I love his little cowboy hat. I love everything about him. I think he's just fantastic. I am quite sure that he charges boldly forward into the enemy lines, singing Kid Rock. All right, so send us more photos in the future, and we will be happy to show them on the weekly show. But the time is now 9 o'clock, and that means that we have to call it an hour. It's been wonderful talking to everybody. Nick, I wanted to thank you very much for coming by. We very much appreciate you, and you're welcome back anytime.
Thank you.
And stop that sharing there.
Where's your face? There's your wonderful.
There we go. And yeah, so it's good to have Warhammer Weekly back. Nick, thank you again. Tom, thank you for being here. And thank you to everybody who watched and who is watching. Feel free to leave any comments, what you'd like to see on future shows below. But we'll see you next Wednesday and every Wednesday 8 p.m. Eastern Time. But right now, head on over to Materim's channel and tune into Narrations and Lamentations with Materim and the boys for yet another hour of must-watch Warhammer YouTube TV. It's like Thursday night on NBC in the 90s. That good. All right.
Awesome.
All right. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great week. See you next Wednesday.